Evan, what would you share with us as far as a finance strategic moment?
Yeah, for me, it was about the time that I took over the long range planning process at Salesforce. And just as some context, prior to that, Salesforce was really in a stage of rapid growth. We were evolving from a single product, single geo to a multi SKU global company. It was a really transition point. And up until that time, the long range plan was sort of a finance skunkworks project. It was this big, heavy duty model that a couple of people in the corner of the finance floor of our building in downtown San Francisco managed. It wasn't business owned. And when the leader left and I took over this, all the business folks walked away from the model. Like, that's not those numbers. That's the finance model. That's the finance LRP. It's not my numbers. And it made me quickly realize the importance, again, going back to some of those early lessons I shared about Genentech, the importance of the business and engaging with the business, the importance that the long range plan is not just a model. A model is the output. It's a framework of how to have a conversation. But really, it's about the strategic alignment of your go to market organization, your product organization, and operations. And operations can be anything from tech delivery to recruiting to finance, all of those things. And it's really about at the very top of the organization being aligned on where we're going over the next 2 to 5 years or sometimes longer. Genentech had very long LRPs that were greater than 10 years because of the nature of that business. But in technology, call it 2 to 5, depending where you are. And for me, that was when I took that over, that was sort of my goal. I didn't want this to be a finance exercise. It needed to be a company exercise. And how I was able to do that was really partnership in the organization. I reached out to the head of sales strategy at the time and I said, hey, do you have a need for a long range plan? Would a long range plan help you in running your business? And he's like, absolutely. This is the thing I need. Every year, I sort of start over with territory carving and quotas. It'd be great to know, like, okay, what geos are going to be focal points? What product selling are going to be focal points? And he's like, okay, this will be really help me. So we were, he joined me on this sort of LRP journey. And then he challenged me and he's like, you know what? I think we really need a product person. And so we reached out to the head of product strategy. And we had all worked together before and we knew each other really well. But really, this is the first time we had come together as sort of a collective to make something that was company driven in this level. And so the product strategy, what's the product roadmap? How do we align product and sales strategy and all those things? Because when you're in a really fast growing company, it is incredibly natural to have silos. It is perfectly normal. And it's really, in many ways, how do you connect? How do you build that connective tissue? And I view the LRP as doing that. And the teams came together and we built out a process, a multi-month process where we start with the top line, then we go into resource allocation, and the final output is a model. But what I was most pleased with about that are the decisions that we made that came out of that long range planning. Whether it was data center locations, right, as we saw businesses grow in certain areas, and getting our chief revenue officer aligned with our chief technology officer on where we should make those bets, or whether it was a decision to move into a new market, a new product that we thought had a ton of upside and opportunity. And that product ended up being one of the fastest growing businesses in Salesforce's history, right? It's one of a great success story. That is the strategic moment for finance, right? It's evolving us from the number crunchers, the budget managers, to enabling the company to make really effective decisions. And finance is not alone in that. Like I said, I had partners in that journey, but it was a great, great success. Now, it's not to say that it wasn't without faults. We had bumps during that process. But again, going back to what motivates me to stay at a company, do we have innovation? And every year we evolve that long range planning process. We did surveys afterwards, what worked, what didn't work. How do we evolve that next? What piece of information would our executives like to have gleaned from that? And so we just kept evolving that. And, when it was under my ownership, I probably did it for about 5 years. And every year it was slightly different, slightly improved. And that's the goal, right? To constantly help the company make effective decisions. And so definitely one of my proudest achievements and one of sort of where I saw the use case of where finance can really be a strategic business partner to an organization and the role that finance can play.